After studying this module, you shall be able to know how industrial projects are evaluated from the social point of view by financial institutions, learn the fundamentals parameters in such evaluation, identify the different methods adopted by financial institutions. The need for social cost benefit analysis, known as SCBA, for appraising industrial projects in India has been felt since it got its independence. Keeping in view the needs of developing nations, United Nations Industrial Development Organizations, that is UNIDO, Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, that is OECD, and World Bank have come up with various methodologies for the same. India is one of the main among developing countries where efforts have been made to apply these methods. Industrial Credit and Investment Corporation of India, that is ICICI, Industrial Development Bank of India, that is IDBI, and Industrial Financial Corporation of India, that is IFCI, the main three all India term lending financial institutions in India have adopted one such approach, popularly known as partial little middle's approach. These institutions, however, have applied some modifications and simplification on this approach for appraising their projects. Industrial Developmental Bank of India, that is IDBI. IDBI was established as a subsidiary bank of RBI under the Industrial Development Bank of India Act 1964 for providing credit and other facilities for developing industries and to assist the development institutions. In 1976, it was separated from RBI and the ownership was also transferred to the Government of India. IDBI is the 10th largest bank in the world in terms of the development. The Nations Stock Exchange, that is NSE, the National Stock Exchange, that is NSE, the National Securities Depository Services etc., that is NSDL, and Stockholding Corporation of India, that is SHCIL, are some of the many institutions which have been built by support of IDBI. Industrial Finance Corporation Bank of India, that is IFCI. IFCI is the first financial institution set up in July 1948 by a special act. The main objective was to cater to the needs of medium and long-term credit of industrial units. The corporation is authorized to issue bonds and debentures in the open market, to borrow foreign currency from the World Bank and other organizations, accept deposits from public and also borrow from the Reserve Bank. The Union government has guaranteed the repayment of capital and the payment of a minimum annual dividend. The promotional activities of IFCI includes soft loan assistance, entrepreneur development, industrial development in backward areas, subsidized consultancy, management development, etc. To improve the professional management, the IFCI sponsored the Management Development Institutes in 1973. It established the Development Banking Center to develop the managerial manpower in industrial concern, commercial and development banks. Industrial Credit and Investment Corporation of India, that is ICICI. ICICI was initially established in 1955 as Public Limited Company under the Indian Companies Act for developing medium and small industries of private sector. In March 2002, the ICICI was merged with the ICICI Bank and created a first universal bank in India. The financial assistance provided by ICICI before its merger with ICICI Bank were lending long-term and medium-term loan both in terms of rupee and foreign currency, participated in equity capital and in debentures, underwriting new issues of shares and debentures, providing guarantee to suppliers of equipment and foreign lenders. Now we will be discussing about SCBA by financial institutions. The project appraisal is primarily made by the financial institutions from the financial point of view. ICICI introduced the system of economic analysis followed by IFCI in 1979. But the credit of introducing full-fledged system of economic appraisal goes to IDBI. If we compare the approaches followed by the three institutions, there are scant differences. The social cost benefit analysis carried out by IDBI is based on three concepts: economic rate of return, that is ERR, effective rate of protection, that is ERP, and domestic resource cost, that is DRC.
Now, we will discuss about economic rate of return. This method uses international prices for valuation of trade-able inputs and outputs. That is why this approach is also called as partial little mirror less approach. The key elements of this approach are following: use of international prices, non-labor inputs and output, use of social conversion factors. Use of international prices. This method assumes that international prices reflect the true economic value. So, these international prices should be used as far as it is possible. This is so because there may be few items in respect of which these prices may not be available. Non-labor inputs and output. In the case of tradable items for which international prices are directly available, these international prices are used. It means all non-labor inputs and outputs are valued at international prices. Inputs are valued at CIF prices and outputs are valued at FOB prices. Use of social conversion factors. The social conversion factors are used in two cases: for tradable items where international prices are not available, and for non-tradable items. There are following possibilities. A social conversion factor is applied directly to the actual rupee cost, like land. The rupee value of goods may contain some inputs that went into their production and are tradable. That is why social conversion factor cannot be applied directly. In such cases, the actual rupee cost is broken down into three components. For this, see table 26.1. Tradable components, labor component, and residual component. These components are then valued in social terms by applying the social conversion factors. The social conversion factors and weightage for different components used by the IDBI are given in the following table. SCF or proportions used by IDBI. The social conversion factors for various components, tradable, non-tradable, and residual, are same for all goods. They are given as in the following table. SCF for components. Example: how to decide basis of conversion. While appraising a project using economic rate of return, the basis that can be used may be social conversion factor, component-wise SCF, or international prices, that is FOB or CIF. How the basis of conversion is decided. In respect of following items given in the following table, identify the basis of conversion. This can be solved as rules for basis of conversion. The following are the rules for the basis of conversion. All non-labor inputs and outputs are valued at international prices, wherein inputs are valued at CIF prices and outputs are valued at FOB prices. The social conversion factors are used for tradable items where international prices are not available, and also for non-tradable items. In some cases, like building, transport, electricity, water, fuel, etc., the actual rupee cost is broken down into three components: tradable, labor, and residual. The following table shows the items and their respective bases of conversion. Example: comprehensive example on ERR. Anubhav Engineering Limited is appraising a project to produce a product which is presently being imported. The proposed project will have a capacity to substitute the entire volume of imports. The life of the project is expected to be 8 years. The project requires the following expenditure: the initial outlay, that is capital expenditure, the working capital, and the cost of inputs consumed in the process of production. The capital expenditure estimates for the project is represented in the following table. The projected annual profitability statement of the company is represented in the following table. This can be solved as: Step 1. Calculation of social cost of initial outlay. This step requires two parts: splitting all the capital inputs into tradable, labor, and residual components, and finding the social values of various components. This can be represented in the following table. Calculation of social value of initial outlay. This is represented in the following table. Step 2. Calculation of social cost of inputs consumed. The social value of the various inputs consumed in the process of production can also be estimated given in the following table. Step 3. Calculation of social value. This is represented in the following table. Step 4. Calculation of CIF value of output. CIF value of output is equals to 15,000 into 80,000 is equals to rupees 120 crores. Step 5. Calculation of social net benefit PA. Social net benefit per annum is equals to 120 minus 84.40, which is equals to 35.36. Step 6. Calculation of flows of social net benefit. Let us assume that at the end of the life of the project, the working capital will be realized at rupees 15 crores and the net salvage value of fixed asset is rupees 2 crore. The flows of social benefits from the project is given in the following table. Step 7. To find out IRR of the flows of social benefits. At last, the final step is to find out the internal rate of return, that is IRR, of the flows of social benefits, which is the economic rate of return from this project. The rate is 30.08%. Step 8. To take decision. The acceptance or rejection of this project now depends on the required social discount rate determined by the appraiser. Now, we will discuss about effective rate of protection. In the today's era of liberalization, globalization, and privatization, if there is no trade barrier at international border and the domestic industry is weak, then the economy of that country may tumble down. After all, it is the responsibility of government not only to protect its domestic industry against international competition, but also to encourage it. That is why governments of almost all the countries try to protect the home industry through various means like tariffs, import and export restrictions, subsidies, etc. The degree of protection enjoyed by an industry provides an idea about how vulnerable or otherwise the industry is to competition from overseas if the protection is withdrawn by the government. The extent to which a project is sheltered is measured by the effective rate of protection, which is known as ERP. This degree of protection available to an industry can be measured by expressing the value added by the industry at domestic prices reduced by the world prices. Effective rate of protection is equals to value added at domestic prices minus value added at world prices divided by value added at world prices. The following are the relevant points. There is a need to calculate value added at domestic as well as world prices. The value added is calculated using the following formula. Value added is equals to selling price minus input cost. The selling price used is the price net of taxes and excise duties, but including selling commission. The world prices for exported goods are FOB prices. The world prices for imported goods are CIF prices. The traded inputs are valued at both world prices and domestic prices. The non-traded inputs are valued only at the domestic prices. The input cost consists of the cost of the following inputs: raw materials and stores, power, fuel and water, repairs and maintenance, part of administrative overheads and expenses, selling expenses. The inputs are segregated into tradable and non-tradable on the following lines. Raw materials and stores. These are in general treated as traded goods. The world prices are estimated at CIF prices. Bulky materials such as sand, whose volume is high compared to their value and also involve substantial transportation cost, are treated as non-traded goods. Power, fuel and water. These are treated as non-traded goods except when the cost of fuel is significant. In such cases, it should be valued at both domestic and world prices. Repairs and maintenance. Generally, a non-traded item, but the value of spares consumed is considered at both domestic and world prices. Selling expenses is treated as a non-traded item. Administrative overheads. Administrative overheads contain two components: labor cost and other expenses. The labor cost is included in the value added. Therefore, it is not considered. The other expenses like rent, telephone, and telegraph, etc., are traded as non-traded items. The difference between the value of the output and the value of the inputs is called as value added. This represents payment to labor and capital, that is, the surplus available for the providers of capital and labor. Interpretation of value of ERP. The value of ERP reflects the degree of protection of home or domestic industry from international competition. The following are the cases. ERP is equals to 0. It means that the domestic industry does not enjoy any protection from competition overseas. ERP is greater than 0. It indicates the presence of protection. ERP is less than 0. It means the domestic industry is more competitive. The following are the values at the domestic and international prices of the inputs and outputs of a project. This is given in the following table. This can be solved as value added at domestic prices is equals to rupees 95, value added at world prices is equals to rupees 60. Thus, ERP is equals to value added at domestic prices minus value added at world prices divided by value added at world prices, which is equals to 95 minus 60 divided by 60, and thus it makes ERP is equals to 0.583. The domestic resource cost DRC is the spending required in terms of domestic currency to generate a saving of 1 unit of a foreign currency. The commonly used foreign currency for estimating DRC is the US dollar. Thus, domestic resource cost equals to value added at domestic prices divided by value added at world prices into exchange rates. The amount of value added for computation of DRC is given in the following table. Additional items considered in DRC as compared with ERP. There are two additional items in the above format. Charge on capital employed. The charge on capital employed is imputed at 10%. Capital employed is the sum of fixed assets and working capital. The charge of 10% is applied after breaking down the value into imported and indigenous components and netting out taxes and duties from the two components. Depreciation. Depreciation on capital equipment is charged at 6%. Again, the value of capital equipment is bifurcated into imported and indigenous taxes, and duties are netted out before charging depreciation. Relationship between ERP and DRC. The concepts of ERP and DRC are closely related as per the following equation. DRC is equals to ERP plus 1 into exchange rate. Example 4. The following information is available. Value added at domestic prices is equals to rupees 222 crores. Value added at world prices is equals to rupees 150 crores. Exchange rate is equals to rupees 58 per dollar. Calculate ERP and DRC. Also verify the value of DRC as per the relationship formula between the two. This can be solved as ERP is equals to value added at domestic prices minus value added at world prices divided by value added at world prices, which is equals to 222 minus 150 divided by 150 into 100, which is equals to 48%. DRC is equals to value added at domestic prices divided by value added at world prices into exchange rate, which is equals to 222 divided by 150 into 58, which is equals to 85.84. Verification of relationship. DRC is equals to ERP plus 1 into exchange rate, which is equals to 0.48 plus 1 into 58, which is equals to 85.84.